Hello, welcome back once again to Pharmaceuticals and Regulations. Today in this specific chapter 4 or lecture 4 of our of Pharmaceuticals and Regulations, we are going to look at what our objectives for this lecture are going to be what we call pharmaceutical counterfeiting, and then we shall define what pharmaceutical counterfeiting is, and then counterfeit, and then forms of pharmaceutical counterfeit, and then implications on healthcare. These counterfeits, what are their implications on healthcare, and then what are the procedures we are going to use for preventing this counterfeit, and then we shall look at legal implications or consequences of counterfeiting as per the NDP and A Act. Okay, so this is it. This is our objective for this lecture. So in case you're going to have any questions along the way, please put them in the comment section, and then we see how we can handle them. So what is the definition of a counterfeit? What is counterfeit? Counterfeit drug is one that is deliberately being mislabeled with respect to its original identity, and then standard drug are drugs that do not meet the quality specifications set by the good manufacturing procedures. Okay, a counterfeit is one that is deliberately being mislabeled with respect to its original identity. That is what a counterfeit is. And then a standard drug, because if there is a counterfeit that has been mislabeled or that is misguiding people, there should be something that is right. Okay, and that's something that is right, we can say a substandard, or another word or it can be a standard or a substandard drug. So a standard drug, we can get a counterfeit after preparing a standard drug. If we mislabel it, if we don't give direct instructions or right instructions on how they have to be used, so we find that we are going to see that in forms which will guide us more to understand what a counterfeit is. So substandard drugs are drugs that do not meet the quality specifications set by the good manufacturing procedure. That is the GMPs, the good manufacturing procedures. Before you manufacture a product, you have to put the standard operating procedures, the standard procedure of manufacturing that drug, and it has to be followed. In case it is not followed, we are forming what we call a substandard drug. We are forming a drug that is not of good quality, is not of expected quality, is not of the standard quality that we expect. So we have forms of drug counterfeits or forms of counterfeits. We have what we call the correct active ingredient. We can have a drug having a correct active ingredient, and then we can have those other drugs with the wrong active ingredients, and then we can have counterfeits without active ingredients, and then we can have counterfeits with insufficient active ingredients, and then we can have the fake packaging. It can be the packaging that is fake, it can be the active pharmaceutical ingredient that is not right or that is not of standard, it can be even correct and then you mislabel it, you get it. And then you can prepare a drug, a specific company can prepare a drug without active ingredient and still they label it. For example, if I want to prepare codeine phosphate cough linctors, or if I am required or my manufacturing facility is preparing codeine pharmaceutical or codeine phosphate linctors, and then my active pharmaceutical ingredient is codeine phosphate. So if I put codeine phosphate, maybe the quantity I am going to put is not based on the standard procedure or the standard I can say reference books. Okay, so we have different reference books when manufacturing, so you can have that. And then I can also have, or say I'm preparing codeine phosphate cough linctors and still fail, or I leave out the active pharmaceutical ingredient. I instead use other active pharmaceutical ingredients but still label it as codeine, so it becomes a counterfeit. Or I can prepare it without the active pharmaceutical ingredient. If I prepare it without an active pharmaceutical ingredient, it also qualifies to become a counterfeit. Or if there is insufficient, or I have with insufficient active ingredients, it also qualifies to be a counterfeit. Or with fake packaging, like you're not giving the right instructions on packaging, you're not having the qualities of a good packaging. So you find that it also, you can prepare a specific drug and still pack on the drug that people are familiar with, or on a packaging that people are familiar with. So you find that that becomes a counterfeit. So what are the implications of counterfeit medicines on healthcare? What happens to people? What happens when we have much of the counterfeit on market? Okay, so we have implications of counterfeit medicines on healthcare. You see that it leads to wastage of financial resources. You will have wasted a lot of resources in preparing this without active pharmaceutical ingredients. You've wasted other ingredients, okay? And in case it is realized, it is recalled from the market, and then you will have to incur the loss of recalling of the product, and then transportation of the product to those different or to your facility after it has been recalled. So there is also increase in adverse drug reactions. Okay, since we have where we don't have active ingredient in the preparation. So what do we expect if there is an active pharmaceutical ingredient? We may have adverse drug reactions. We can have drug-drug interactions. Okay, and then increases risks of drug toxicity. Counterfeits can increase the risks of drug toxicity. Counterfeits as well can lead to treatment failure, hence causing progressive or progression of disease. And also we see that it increases the risk of drug resistance. So counterfeit also increases the risk of drug resistance. And counterfeits as well can lead to loss of trust by the public about the healthcare system in the country. Okay, so if we are importing these drugs and then we realize they are counterfeits, you find that maybe the country would never import the same drug from the same company. Or if it is a manufacturing unit within the country, you find that still people will lose trust in that manufacturing facility. They will always have a perception that this specific manufacturing facility, they do not have, or they make counterfeits because of the perception they got because of one product that was counterfeited. I don't know whether that's right English. That was a counterfeit. Okay, so what is the procedure of us preventing these counterfeits? Because we have seen the implications that they bring to us. We have seen the problem of letting it be on market, letting it be there. So we see that there is a procedure for us to prevent counterfeits of medicine, that is ensuring strict control of adverts and drug promotions. That is why when you look at promotions of other commodities within the country, is not the same as the promotions that we have for medicines. Okay, so when we restrict that, we avoid people forming similar drugs of the same compound, or of drugs without the active pharmaceutical ingredient having the same packaging. We prevent such issues. So it is better we prevent formation of counterfeit before the counterfeits are already on market. Okay, there is also carrying out regular inspection of pharmaceutical outlets to identify counterfeits. You find that National Drug Authority is always inspecting the different drug outlets. And drug outlets, we have talked about pharmaceutical manufacturing unit, we have talked about the wholesale pharmacies, we have talked about the retail pharmacies, and we have also talked about the drug shops, the Class C drug outlet, okay, which are the drug shops. Then we have inspection of entry of drugs at the ports. drugs have to be or ought to be inspected at the ports. In case we are importing them, we have to put them in a specific area or warehouse. Remember, we looked at in previous lectures, we looked at different types of premises. There are premises or a type of a premise where we put drugs awaiting to be inspected or awaiting for taxes to be paid on. So there are a number of drugs or a number of things that we inspect at the port or port clearance, or at the moment we receive a shipment for whatever we imported in another country or from another country. You find that we have to inspect it, and in the process of inspecting we can identify these counterfeits before they go to the final consumer, before it reaches to the final consumer. Okay, because a final consumer has no knowledge or cannot be in position to identify a counterfeit, but the regulatory body and the skilled personnel in the regulatory body, that is National Drug Authority of Uganda, will be in position to identify a counterfeit. We carry out prompt assessment and registration of medicines in the country. There should be assessment and registration. Every new medicine that enters in the country that has never been imported, it has to be registered. So, and it has to be followed on its effectiveness and efficacy, whether it is bringing out any adverse drug reactions. And health professionals or health care providers are encouraged to report any case of adverse drug reactions, so that either the effect or they look at the tendency of adverse drug reaction, whether it can prompt a recall of a product or not. Okay, then by employing technologies that can identify counterfeit medicines, you look at the different technologies that are able to detect a counterfeit medicine. That is now when you're inspecting it at the port, ensuring that medicines are sold in licensed premises, since they are able to access the licensed premise, and they are able to supervise them, meaning all the medicines should be sold, should be accessed by patients from these licensed facilities. So deregistering, the delicensing health workers who sell counterfeit. In case a health worker is found selling counterfeit, they can withdraw the license. That's why they are saying delicensing, and then deregistering and delicensing a drug outlet that also sells a counterfeit. Meaning, in case your outlet they find you have counterfeit medicine, they de-license you, the health worker, and people working there, as well as they de-license and deregister the drug outlet where they have found this counterfeit medicine. Okay, why? Because we have already seen the implication, we have already seen the outcomes, we have already seen the effects. Okay, you can be asked for the effects of counterfeits or consumption of counterfeits by patients or final consumers, or by the healthcare providers, by the healthcare community, ensuring that the medicines are sold by qualified and licensed persons. People who are operating should be qualified and licensed. Regular inspection, supervision of pharmaceutical outlets should be carried out. And then we also have conducting quality control tests on drugs entering the country. Every drug entering the country, there should be a specific a department that is responsible for quality assurance and quality control of whatever is entering the country. That is how we are able to prevent counterfeits from rising or from increasing or from affecting our community. Arresting dealers of counterfeit medicines and producing them in the courts of law. Okay, we arrest them, we are able to prevent these implications. So legal implications, consequences of counterfeit, as per this specific Act of 1993, refers to the Act of 1993 Drug Promotion and Regulation for medicine promotion and guidelines for control. So we see that drug promotion is the informational or persuasive activities provided by the manufacturer or drug distributors to increase the prescription and the sale of medicines to the public. So what are the guidelines for control or control promotions? We have seen that when we control promotions, we are able to avoid having counterfeits. So what are the guidelines of how we can control promotions, drug promotions? Strict vetting of drug promotional materials like labels and leaflets, and then information regarding the drug should be accurate and relevant when you're promoting it, and then promotion should have a language that uneasily or can easily be understood by everyone in the population. And then information should not mislead the public. The drug advertised must be legally registered, and then the comparison between the different medicines should be accurate and clear to the public whenever you're promoting your drug, whether by advert, whether television talk shows, radio talk shows, and the rest. Those are areas where you promote. Give the public a clear information and give them accurate information. And you yourself, you have to be knowledgeable about what you're talking about. There should be strict control of the medicines being advertised, and then information on the label should gain trust from the public so that it can be used. So when we are promoting new pharmaceutical products, in case a product is new, for example, in our country during the season of COVID-19, we had a new product that came up, that is Covidex, okay, and all of us must have had, and some of us must have used it. So what are the type of information that a new product should have when you're promoting it? Should have the name of the active ingredient that you have used for manufacturing that product. You should tell people or the public about the brand name or the different brands that product has. You should tell people about the content of active ingredients, tell the content of active ingredients that have been used, and then talk about the approved therapeutic use. What is the approved therapeutic use that you have? And then look at approved therapeutic use, and then look at the dosage form of regimens, and then look at the side effects and major adverse drug reactions. Look at precautions, or talk about precautions. Tell people about the precautions. Tell people about contraindications and warnings, and then tell people about the major interactions. Tell people about the name, address of the manufacturer or the distributors. So that is like how all things when you're promoting a new product. That is what you inform the public. Okay, so the different forms or ways of drug promotion. What are the different forms and ways of drug promotion that we have? One is a common one that most of us must have heard about, is what we call medical representatives. Should have an appropriate educational background of the medical field, and they should be adequately trained on how to promote the medicines. They should possess sufficient medicinal or medical and technological or technical knowledge and integrity to present information on products and carry out other promotional activities in an accurate and responsible manner. Free samples of the prescription drugs for promotional purposes. Free samples of legally available prescriptions or drugs may be provided in modest quantities to prescribers generally on request. So we are continuing. Free samples of non-prescription drugs, that is over-the-counter drugs, to the general public for promotional purposes. Provision of free samples of non-prescription drugs to the general public, conferences, and then and other scientific meetings that you may have. And then there should be presentation made based on scientific references, and then gifts through using other promotional gifts such as the branded pens, the calendars of the drugs, and then the branded cups and others you are able to promote, and then discounts through giving discounts on some drug or products. Okay, so what are the ethical standards for drug promotion? All claims concerning medicines should be reliable, accurate, truthful, informative, balanced, up to date, capable of substantiation, and in good taste. And then promotion should not contain misleading or variable statements or omission likely to include medically unjustifiable drug use or give rise to undue risks. The word safe should only be used if it is properly qualified. Not every drug you are saying it is safe, even with those with many side effects, you're saying it is safe to be used. You can use this. You're misleading the public. Okay, tell the public the real information, and then tell them the side effects, tell them the contraindications, tell them the risks after a long period of time, tell them in case they overdose themselves what will happen to them. So promotional material should not be designed so as to disguise its real nature or of financial or material benefits. Like, you don't design a material for financial benefit, you have to design it to give a message or to leave a message in the public. Okay, scientific and educational activities should not be deliberately used for promotional purposes. So thank you so much for listening to me. Let's stop here for now.